I'm coming to you today from Flatbed University, so we're going to go through all different types of flatbeds that we sell here at Whiteface Customs. So we're going to start off with a plain bed. So we call this one the plain bed. It is just a square flatbed, no skirting. You've got a headache rack, a tailboard that is just a 90-degree angle, simple lights required by DOT, and a receiver hitch down on a bumper. The next step up from a plain bed would be this one right here with a tapered rear. So the tailboard on this one is tapered at a 15-degree angle on both sides. The next step up is having these lights up here in the headache rack, but they still have the same gooseneck recessed ball right here. We do have options to do a B&W turnover ball if you need something flush. That will come with a rub rail on the side with a stake pocket, so you can use this to tie down materials to the bed. We can also drop a side rail into here. We do have options to have the rub rail and stake pockets on the back, so if you need a tailgate to go along with that sideboard, we can attach that for you. All the beds will have a fuel neck and a def neck opening. The position of these, specifically on these beds, are ordered a certain way so that if you like to put a cake feeder up here on the front, the spout where the cake will come out, the trough is not in line with the fuel neck, so it doesn't interfere with fueling up the truck. Our next class of bed will be a 4-box skirted, is the simplest way to describe this bed. So you have 4 toolboxes underneath and skirting all the way around. So you'll have skirting in front of and behind the wheel well. Some of the beds will have a smooth radius on the wheel well. Some of them will have a notch where we have kind of an octagon shape on the wheel well. It's skirted all the way around both front and rear toolboxes, and the tailboard also has skirting, and there's many different designs, but the skirting will come all the way down to match up with the rear toolbox. Now the difference between a short bed and a long bed, the rear of the bed from the center of the wheel well back is always the same. The front portion is where we will find a difference in the bed. So you can see the large difference between the long bed there, which would fit on a regular pickup bed, and this would go on a short bed pickup. You can see this front box will typically be anywhere from 16 to 18 inches long versus 20 to 24 inches long on your standard long bed. We'll now move into one of the hay bed options. So with hay beds, we have both an arm bed, which is going to have 2 hydraulic arms that squeezes. So customers may call this an arm bed, they may call it a squeeze bed, they may call it a unrolling bed. What this does, the arms will bend all the way over back to the ground. They will squeeze a round bale, and when it's time to feed, that round bale will unroll just as that bale was rolled up inside the baler. You can get these both in a non-skirted and skirted application. Most of these beds that come as an arm bed, they will always have at least a toolbox on the front 2 sides. If it is an electric over hydraulic pump, that pump is typically mounted inside one of these toolboxes. Our other type of hay bed is going to be what they call a spike bed. So it'll have a tailgate here in the rear. That tailgate will drop down with 2 hay spikes, so you can spear one, pick it up, and then drop it back on the ground. If you're just needing to feed a round bale and you want to roll it inside of a round bale ring, this is a good option for it. If you need to unroll the hay and lay cake out on top of the hay, the arm bed is the way you want to go. So the arm beds are going to cost more because of all the mechanics that go into this rear tailboard. So a spike, you have 2 simple hinges, just like you do on the arm bed, and a hydraulic pump that is a 1-function pump, so it has in and out. It only does one thing. On an arm bed, you got to have a 2-function. You have to go up and down plus in and out. So you've got a 2-function, which requires an additional solenoid and valve on the pump, plus a more sophisticated remote. Now you can see we have much larger hinges on the arm bed. We have a lot more subframe supporting both on the tailboard and underneath the bed. You can see those mechanics right here. So the mechanics of the arm bed, you have 2 larger cylinders plus a hinge system right here and a guide roller that guides that thing back up underneath the bed. On the spike beds, you can have, some brands will use 1 larger cylinder, some brands will use 2 smaller cylinders. It's all just up to the design of that flatbed company. On a butler bed, they do have a gooseneck trough option with the hay spike. So you can get this with or without the hay spike, but that gives you flow through to that gooseneck ball. So it saves you about 5 inches of jacking that trailer up to get it over that ball. You can get the trailer coupler just a 1/4 inch over the top of that ball, or sometimes even just barely bump it and push the truck down, versus having to come all the way out of that gooseneck box and then clear the tailboard without damaging it. On the beds, we'll have a difference between single wheels and dualies. The dualies will typically be 96 inches wide versus 80 inches wide. And so you can see there's a lot of different designs, but the front of the bed will typically start around 80 inches and then it will taper back to a certain point and eventually be the full 8-foot wide, 96 inches. There's a substantial price difference between the Butler arm bed we just looked at and the Dewey's arm bed we have here. Both built by the same company in the same warehouse, but the structural integrity of this Dewey's is far superior to the other brands. It will lift roughly 1,800 pounds more than the other beds will. All the beds will lift hay, no problem, but if you're trying to pick up something a lot heavier than a round bale, like an implement, maybe a side-by-side, or some really, really big heavy square bales, this Dewey's bed is is going to do it. You can see the gauge of the steel is much bigger. The arms are bigger. The hinge points are substantially bigger. You can see this hinge point is almost twice the size of the hinge point that was on the Butler bed. There's also 2 of them on each side. Dewey's also has quick couplers, so if you need to move hydraulic equipment, something you need to lift up on the tires, you can simply hook that up, hit your remote, and you can lift that implement off the ground to trailer it down the road. So this bed, you will get the arms plus the hay spike. So what you can do with this is if you have a bale that is turned sideways, you can pull it out of the row with the spikes instead of having to break your net by pinching it on the side. You can also roll one up on the bed, pick up a second one with the arms, and if you're really good, grab a third one with the spikes. So Dewey's has a engine mount and a 12 volt and 24 volt pump system. You can choose between one of those 3 options. Now the hydraulic tank on all will be the same. You have a large capacity tank up here in the headache rack, so if you are running constant duty and you're moving bales one after another, this bed will be set up better for constant duty use because that large hydraulic tank allows for better cooling. There's also a filtration system built into here, just like you would have on your tractor or a skid loader. And on the other side, we have a more sophisticated control board. This one will have a float feature, so as that bale unrolls, you don't have to continue to press down and guess how much ground force you're putting on it. It will automatically lower that bale down as it gets smaller and unrolls. These beds are somewhat modular, so they come non-skirted, but these beds will actually sell as a 4-box skirted. So you'll get 2 toolboxes in the front, 2 toolboxes in the rear that bolt in, and a fender that bolts in as well. So it's a great looking bed once it's installed on your truck. So this is a dually version of the Dewey's bed. You can see the front corners are tapered, comes out to the full width here in the rear. All the mechanics of the bed, capacities will all be the same as a single wheel. Right here is a hauler bed. So a hauler bed is what you typically see on a truck that's running horse trailer, you know, somebody that's a rope or barrel racer and they want a nice looking bed to haul their livestock trailer or horse trailer to the shows. They're going to use one of these. These will come with a tapered dovetail, so you have a nice fit up against the trailer. When you're making corners, you don't have to worry about contacting the rear of the bed. You have a trough back here for the gooseneck ball, so hooking up to a trailer is easier. One, when this thing is up on the truck, you can easily just reach up and latch the trailer coupler. Easy to hook up the chains. Easy to clean out. You have a nice built-in side rail on the side of this bed. It accommodates a fuel tank. Instead of having the fuel neck on the side, they integrate it here in the top of the bed. So this is a dually bed, but it's not a full width. So this thing is going to be about 8 inches narrower than a full 8-foot wide bed. So it splits the difference between a single wheel and a dually. So you have the nice, slick, tight-fitting bed. It fits tight to the cab and gives the truck a nice custom look. Next option of bed, this is going to be our most popular utility bed. This one's specifically a utility bed that can accommodate hauling a gooseneck trailer. This bed is built by Pronghorn, which has set a name in the industry, and a lot of people refer to this style bed as a Pronghorn style bed. They were the first ones to the market with this type of concept where we have a flatbed, we have a utility bed with top open boxes, but we can also haul a gooseneck trailer. You can get this configuration with simple boxes like this with a tool slider across it, with a gooseneck trough for easy access to the gooseneck ball, and even with the hay spike. This is what the hay spike configuration will look like on the Pronghorn bed. You still have the shovel toolbox underneath, and you have storage for your tailgate and hay spikes underneath this as well. This one has the bumper step option on it, which we are now ordering all of our new orders with that coming standard. These 2 beds, both made by Pronghorn, but look a little bit different. You'll notice this one has a long toolbox on the top. This is our UT version. This one has a shorter toolbox on the top, and the rear toolbox is taller in the upright position. This one is called the UTD bed. I prefer the UT bed because the storage box actually comes to the very end of this piece of metal right here. On the UTD, this toolbox ends here, and this is a void. So you actually lose this amount of storage right here, which for me, every little inch counts. It's also a little bit easier to stuff from the top side because things don't fall over, versus when you put it into the rear box, when you open that door, if you have stuff stacked up high, it'll fall out whenever you open that rear door. So this is our non-skirted arm bed that comes from Bramco. Very similar capabilities of the Butler bed. Similar styling, a little bit different headache rack, a little bit different tailboard. This comes with 2 toolboxes on the front, but the rear of the bed is open. Now, if you're working off-road, ranch and farm conditions, sometimes a non-skirted bed is a benefit because if you're getting mud and debris up underneath that bed, it's a lot easier to clean out without the skirting. These are what I call a full-side utility bed. So this is your typical plumber or electrician bed that has a full side. So no gooseneck towing with this, but they will come with a bumper step. Factory receiver hitch will still be underneath the truck. These can come in a non-flip top and a flip top option. So this is a non-flip top. We do have ladder rack options that go on top of these. The non-flip tops people like because they can mount air compressors, water jugs, extra toolboxes, supply racks right to the top of this. With our flip top options, you have open storage with dividers up here in the top with a lid that will flip down over the top side of that. Inside the boxes, you have adjustable shelves front and back. This would one is our 12-foot body that fits a 84-inch cab to axle. It's going on an F550 or an F600. This one is a crane body specifically, so you can mount an 8,000-pound crane on this back corner. Inside the toolboxes, you'll have a lot of organization. You will have adjustable trays, drawer systems, and these are heavy-duty drawer systems. And they can accommodate drawers and trays in any box, so you can build this thing exactly how you want it. And this is a solid steel heavy-duty bed. If you've had beds in the past that have cracked out, this one is not going to do that. This bed will well outlast any truck that it gets installed on. We have the option for work lights all over it, interior box lighting. The tall side over here is going to be set up for oxygen and acetylene tanks. So there's a rack for the tanks. There's also a rack for your hose. And the top of this is a very thick deck, so you can mount any of those additional components that you need to have on the job site. You can mount to the top of these boxes. So because of the capacity of the cranes on these, they have outriggers, so that way when you boom that crane all the way out, you don't run the risk of tipping the truck over. So on this side, you've got an outrigger that goes straight down. On the passenger side where the crane is located, this one will boom out about 3 extra foot. You have a master lock system, so not only can you lock the doors, but you can put a padlock inside of this to keep all those tools nice and secure. We have 2 brands of cake feeders we sell in a couple of different sizes. So one will be the Beefcake by Dewey's, and one of them is the T&S Trip Hopper. Now the big difference between these, the Beefcake is a auger driven system. The benefits to the auger is you can put a ration type mix in here. So if you have something that is wet or a silage, you can put this in here and this auger is going to help feed it out. You can't do that with the chain driven belt that's on the Trip Hopper. The Trip Hopper uses a chain system that's on a giant belt, and it comes through, and the reason they call it a Trip Hopper is this thing. Every time the chain rolls an extra foot, this gate flips open and out drops the feed. We have these in multiple sizes, so you can get anything from a 750, which this is the smaller one we typically sell, 1,000, a 1250, a 1,500, and a 2,000 pound. In the Beefcake, we have the 750 pounds, 1,500 pounds, and a 2,000 pound option. So with the Beefcake, there is a cotton addition option, which will have an additional agitator located towards the top side to prevent cottonseed or any type of sticky material from bridging. Bridging is when the feeder will feed the bottom section of the hopper out and the top of the material stays bridged, and you have to get there and knock it free to have it drop to the bottom. So that agitator will spin and keep that material moving down as you feed it. So those are all of the popular types of beds that we sell. There's always new beds coming to the market and lots of modifications and custom options we do, but 99% of the stuff we sell will be in one of these categories.